Hello, this is Emily, president of Self Advocates of ADEC and podcast host. Welcome to another episode of our monthly podcast, Expert Tips by ADEC Self Advocates. Welcome to Expert Tips by ADEC Self Advocates, December edition. And today we are going to be talking to two people today. And to start off, right now we have Cassidy.
Hi, Emily. How are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. Thank you for having me on the podcast. I'm excited.
Anytime.
What's the focus of this podcast this month, Emily?
It's our wrap-up of this year.
Exciting. We've had a big year.
We have. In a way, this is kind of like our third year anniversary in a way.
In a way, yeah. We're about to go into the third year of the podcast, which is huge.
There's a lot of these to go through.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see what's in store either.
I'm sure it will be exciting.
Yeah. So what is your favorite podcast topic from this year?
Wow, that's a tough question. This year we've had a lot of incredible people come on the podcast, and you guys have spoken about all different things. Thinking back, I remember when Noah, the Self Advocates of Indiana president, came on the podcast. That was probably my favorite one to listen to because you and him were able to talk about things and relate about being the president of self-advocate groups and share your stories and your upbringing with one another. And it was really interesting as a listener to sit back and just hear the conversation between the two of you. Do you have a favorite episode that you've done within 2024?
For people who may or may not already know, I'm a huge Halloween buff. So I'm going to say that Halloween episode that we did with Susan I don't know how to pronounce her last name.
Susan Faltinsky.
Faltinsky, yes.
That was a fun episode. Susan's from ADEC in the employment space. And so she came on, and what did you guys talk about during that episode?
It was a mix of talking about like Halloween and like employment services.
Yeah. And that's fun with all of your spooky things that you like. You guys got to share a little bit about that and Halloween.
Yeah, that's what I really liked about it because I like talking about all things spooky. It was fun to be able to hear new insights about Halloween that I didn't know about.
Yeah, absolutely. That was a fun one.
Mm-hmm. Agreed. Do you have any favorite memories from ADEC this year?
We've done a lot this year, but one of the biggest things that we did that I was a part of kind of helping with throughout the creation process was Ride a Bike, our annual fundraising event. We brought it back to ADEC this year after the pandemic, and it was a great year. It was a great event. It was the first time that I had been a part of a large annual fundraiser for ADEC since I'm newer here, and so it was really just an incredible time to witness the community coming together to support ADEC, and the individuals that we serve were there, and it was just a great time. There were so many things going on, but it definitely made me feel like I was really a part of the ADEC community, and I think it did that for community members that came as well. It was just a very welcoming, exciting environment to share more about ADEC's mission and spread more awareness about people with disabilities. Do you have a favorite memory from this past year?
Given what I said before, Cupcake Wars.
Yes, I forgot about Cupcake Wars. What cupcakes did you guys make? What flavor?
It was the poisoned apples.
Ooh.
There was like 2 versions of it.
And did you help make them and decorate them?
Actually, in a way, kind of yes. I was in the brainstorming idea phase of it.
And for the listeners out there who don't know what Cupcake Wars are, do you want to explain a little bit about what that event is?
Well, it's very similar to the show Cupcake Wars in a way. You know how in the show Cupcake Wars it has their like Halloween inspired like episodes? They would have like they would make like Halloween inspired cupcakes and like present them. In a way, that's what we did. We presented Halloween inspired cupcakes and we talked about exactly what our booth represented and what our visuals are.
Yeah.
A lot.
They were all really cool. So
Yeah.
all of the day programs got to participate in choosing their own theme and then their cupcake flavors and design and things like that, right?
Yeah, in a way, that's what we did. I thought of the poison apple idea.
That's awesome. That's really cool. What are you
You.
looking forward to moving into 2025?
I was hoping to interview, like, maybe a mayor in the government.
Okay.
I know that we're working on trying to interview Be the Band, which is a local band in Goshen and Elkhart. My brother's a part of that band. That's why I mentioned them. And I also want to interview Kelly Hartman, she is a behavioral specialist, and I really liked her speech in the award luncheon.
Yeah, those are some great ideas. I
Yeah.
think inviting a lot of different people throughout the community, they all kind of bring in their own perspective. And so hearing those different perspectives with all of their different backgrounds is really interesting. So I think any one of those people that you mentioned, and I'm sure many more, would be great ideas for you to bring on the podcast.
Yeah, that'd be great. That's what I love about doing this podcast. I get to meet new people. I get to figure out a way to talk to new people. Not only do I get to meet new people, but I get to talk to them, and I get to figure out ways on how to do that.
Yeah, absolutely. It can be challenging sometimes to talk to new people you haven't met before. And so I feel like this is a great way to kind of just break it down step by step and really make everyone feel comfortable while talking about topics that are both important, but sometimes topics that are really fun too.
Yeah, agreed. All right. Thank you, Cassidy, for coming on to this podcast episode. That was great.
Yes, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to see what 2025 looks like for the podcast and you moving forward, and hopefully the listeners are too.
All right. That was Cassidy. And right now we have Beth Bergen from one of our other episodes, actually.
Hi, Emily. Thank you for having me again. I appreciate it.
Anytime. It's great.
Yeah.
So what is your favorite podcast topic?
Oh, man. There's so many. I thought it was going to be the one that I was on, but then you know how much I like music because we've talked about it in other times. So it would probably be the music podcast that you had with, who was it?
Was it Amanda Wagner?
Yeah, you're right. Yeah, it was a good one. I like that just to listen and hear the communication between the two of you. It was great. What about you?
Yeah.
What was your favorite podcast?
I like the Halloween one with Susan Faltowski.
Okay, yeah. You are a Halloween buff, so.
Yeah, I am. But also, I like the one with Amanda Wagner, too, because, like, it was fun talking about, like, music.
And how you can talk through music and being advocate with your lyrics and everything, yeah.
Yeah. And I just noticed something. Ever since she mentioned and talked about Jelly Roll with me for that episode and while we were heading to the podcast, now all of a sudden I'm listening to a lot of his music.
I went to a Jelly Roll concert.
That's right.
I did in October. I sure did. That was really fun.
Cool. I bet.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite memories from this year for ADEC?
Of course, the silver bullets. Every single game is different and special in its own way, and I enjoy seeing all of the smiles when everyone makes a basket, our event staff when they're selling at the concession stands or, picking up trash, our cheerleaders that we have. It's a great section that we have. It's really fun. So I can't say that I have one favorite memory, but I have a lot in the short time that I've been with ADEC.
I like that trip we took in Muncie, Indiana.
Oh, the Impact Awards luncheon. Yeah, that was
Yeah.
really fun. Seeing all the different providers that have at self advocacy groups. That's really awesome to see. It's not just here in ADEC and Bristol and Elkhart, but it's just everywhere in Indiana.
Yeah, I remember I mentioned that I wanted to interview Kelly Hartman.
She was our guest speaker, wasn't she? And she
Yeah.
did amazing. She talked about perspectives and the
Yeah.
different perspectives of things and how we can have our perspective really change how our day is going to be. If we really have that power, not anyone else. And resilience she talked about too. Yeah.
Yeah.
So she talked about so many different things.
Yeah, she did. And I remember that she talked about the progress between of how it is to live with a disability in the 60s
Oh, yeah,
versus how it is now.
Yeah, that first picture that she showed in the 1960s from an institution, seeing that just up there without her really explaining it and then going into explaining was really powerful, wasn't it?
It was. I completely agree.
Yeah.
Yeah. What are you looking forward to doing in 2025?
I am looking forward to having a full year at ADEC because that'll happen in 2025 in August, and all the different podcasts that we're going to have, the topics that can get developed from it, and the listeners really learning how to speak up for themselves. That's what I'm really looking forward to with this.
Yeah. I don't know about you, but for podcast topics I like to bring back is that I like to hear about an update on Ninja Golf, or maybe bring another radio host into the podcast again.
Yeah, it would be nice to hear how Ninja Golf is doing because I do briefly remember the Ninja Golf podcast. And then you had interviewed Mark McGill, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, just to get a branch of everybody. We don't need to have the same people, but we can get different people onto the podcast and hear different experiences and all grow as listeners.
Yeah.
From that, yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree.
So I hear we're going to be doing some trivia. What trivia do you have for me? And I've got a trivia for you.
All right. So how many podcasts have we released?
So if we're counting the first one that you interviewed with Pulse FM, it would be 28 with the one that we're doing today. If we're not, then we're on 27. So it's up to you on that one. You tell me which one you think.
I guess right now we're on 27, but also it will be 28 when this drops.
Okay, well, so I'm both right and wrong. How about that?
All right.
I'll ask you this next question.
Okay.
What was the song that was mentioned in the October podcast with Susan?
I Put a Spell on You from Hocus Pocus.
Of course you would know that one. It's a Halloween one. I should have not given you such an easy one. All right. You got another question for me?
How often do we release the podcast?
Monthly. Is that right?
Yeah.
Yes. I got it right.
So,
last question. Where did the guest talking about exceptional vacations travel to?
Connie went to Graceland to see Elvis and hear him sing.
Yeah, that's what she said. Yeah, that's right. Look at you. You know your podcast, Emily. It's really impressive.
I do wanted to quickly mention that everyone deserves kindness, because honestly, you never really know who has a disability. You never know, like, even if it's not that visual or that obvious, if that person really truly does have a disability. Because, like, there could be a normal person and you wouldn't even know.
And kindness is important for everyone.
Yeah.
There's some times where we all just have a day that we need someone to be a little extra kind to us, and it really turns our day around to make it a better day than what we were having. So I agree with
Yeah.
the kindness.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in to the December edition of Expert Tips by ADEC Self Advocates. I'm your host, Emily. Beth, thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me, Emily.
And please tune in to our next monthly podcast by next year, actually.
2025.
I'll see you in 2025. Thanks for tuning in and hearing from your neighbors with disabilities. Check out next month's podcast for a new guest and topic. I am Emily, host of Expert Tips by ADEC Self Advocates. See you next month.